A local scientist has completed a significant surveying project in earthquake-stricken Nepal. Dr. Chris Pearson of the University of Otago was invited by the Nepalese government to lead the 6-week project, and he joins us to talk about it. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, what was the purpose of your work in Nepal?
The big earthquake that everybody's heard about, the 7.8 Gupta earthquake, caused Nepal, the Kathmandu Valley to shift south by about 2 meters. And that means that every point in Kathmandu, it's not a straight regular shift, it's kind of irregular, but everything's moved about 2 meters off its true position. So my job was to come up with some tools to allow people to correct for that.
Is 2 meters considered to be quite a considerable move?
Yes, it was a lot. I was very surprised. Now, to a bit of context, if you look at the Darfield earthquake, that had a shift of about 3 meters across the fault, but that was a tiny little area. This was about a third of Nepal moved by something like this amount, so it was a much larger shift. Mind you, it was a much larger earthquake.
How will the results of your project help the country to recover?
Well, just imagine that you're a homeowner and you're, and a lot of people are in this position. You want to rebuild your building, which is damaged or destroyed. So you design it. You'll take positions of the surrounding buildings in your property off databases. Those represent the pre-earthquake positions. Now everything's shifted. You go back with your GPS receiver, and your surveyor will, and he sets out the building. If he doesn't have some way of correcting, everything can be shifted by about 2 meters, which could mean that something is supposed to be up against the footpath could be in the middle of the road, and that would be that obviously is a problem. Yeah, it's basically to allow people, surveyors in Nepal, to get their coordinate systems aligned with the situation of the Earth as it is now. Was
this project unique?
No, actually it isn't. It's a rather interesting story. The New Zealand has been kind of a pioneer in developing technology to correct for this sort of deformation, and Land Information New Zealand has developed some very useful tools. What I did effectively was simply to apply very similar methodologies to Nepal. And I even used computer programs that they developed, yeah, I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the help I got from people in the geodetic branch of Land Information New Zealand.
Who were you working alongside?
Well, okay, I was in the survey department of Nepal. It's not an academic department, it's actually a part of the government. So I worked on a day-to-day basis with people in the geodetic branch. So that was those are the Nepali side of my people I was working alongside. There was by the way, this is a New Zealand aid project funded by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and there was another fairly large aid project going with some earthquake engineers, and we sort of palled around in the evenings, and so they were provided a lot of support and companionship also. Also, by the way, Lisa, the honorary council in Nepal, was a tremendous help. So.
Could you use what you learned in Nepal here in New Zealand?
Well, yes. I do similar projects. It certainly provides some context to understand how the faults in New Zealand are working. A good chance to learn how a different kind of plate boundary works. Actually, the place where I think this will be most useful, though, is we have some, we're working to some extent with people in the Pacific Islands and developing, dealing with similar projects, and I think this is where the it'll be most useful.
How can the constant shifting of the Earth be managed from a surveying point of view?
Well, what we do is we have a particular date in time, and we develop a numerical model which allows us to predict how the Earth is moving. And that was really most of what I did while I was in Nepal. Then we automatically apply that when we manage coordinates. We automatically shift the coordinates from the time they were measured to the time of the that particular time using this model. You know, any earthquakes and things like that will automatically be taken out because the earthquakes are included in the model.
It's fascinating stuff. Well done. Dr. Chris Pearson from the University of Otago, thanks very much for your time.